There's a balance between knowing what to do, actually doing it, and achieving the results that you desire. This is the know, do, and have approach to getting more accomplished. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. If you want to do more, have more, and be more, it's not necessarily knowing more that gets you there. In fact, a lot of people will spend time educating themselves about a problem, educating themselves about an approach, and then never doing anything necessary to get the results. Now, why does this happen? Well, first off, it feels great to learn new things. In fact, many gurus might tell you, if you learn this, then you can do that. If you follow my course or you follow my instructions, then you can achieve such and such. And it feels like, okay, I'm learning and now I'm doing, and I must all of a sudden magically have. I'm going to argue that there is a connection between what you know, what you do, and what you have. And it starts by understanding that this is like a combination lock. So you know those little bicycle locks where you dial 0 to 9 and you have to get 4 or 5 numbers in the right order in order for the lock to disengage. I would argue it's like that. For some topics, you do need to know a lot in order to actually do the work and then to have the results that come with doing the work. So for example, you want to be a heart surgeon. Now, it's probably a lot easier to aspire and become a heart surgeon starting when you're in your 20s or 30s than it is starting in your 60s or 70s. But it's not impossible to become a heart surgeon because you can learn how to do heart surgery. You can learn the medical terms and the medical conditions. And in fact, there's even shows on television where you can see heart surgery done so you can gain that experience. But there's a big difference between the quality of learning. So that's the digits on the dial. Do you need a 9 level of learning to be a heart surgeon, or can you do it with a 1 or 2 level? Well, I would argue a heart surgeon who's going to perform heart surgery on other human beings really should have a 9 or better level of knowledge about how to do that activity. So you have to be a heart surgeon, you need to have a very high level. Now, you can go to school to do heart surgery or to learn how heart surgery works, and you can perform it on cadavers, and you could perform it on models, and you can perform it a lot of places, but you will never really have the experience or the tactile performance until you've actually done heart surgery on a human or a living creature. So if you're going to look at what level of doing do you need before you can start being a heart surgeon, that level of doing is somewhere in the middle. It's a 4, it's a 5. Because the practical application, you're eventually going to have to get out there, just like a firefighter. You're eventually going to have to get into the fire and perform a live operation. I don't know if you understand this, but every heart surgeon has had their first patient. And then over the lifetime of a heart surgeon, they don't do tens of thousands of hearts. They only do like hundreds of hearts. So it's when it comes time to be a heart surgeon, you've got to have the knowledge, you've got to have the practice, but you're really got to be right in there with the practical. Now, what level do you think people should be who are heart surgeons who are going to maintain the title of heart surgeon in their actual being of a heart surgeon? Meaning, do you need to do a good job when you're doing surgery on living creatures? Yes. So you're probably back up to a 9 level of doing. Now, there are people who are heart surgeons, so it's not impossible for you to become a heart surgeon. But again, my argument here is that there's a balance between what you know, what you do, and where you can be or what you can have. If you want all the trappings of being a heart surgeon, but you're not willing to invest in the education, you're not willing to do the practice that's necessary to be proficient, and then when you actually do a heart surgery, you botch it, then you're not likely to have the trappings of a heart surgeon. This is a very important point, folks, because today's media gives you access to knowledge far beyond what humans have had in a long time. You could watch enough of these heart surgeries on TV. You could watch and go to classes and feel like you have a proficiency in doing heart surgery. You could even fantasize about doing heart surgery, but not actually be able to legally have to do it or be rewarded by society for being proficient at it. This is very important to understand, folks. This is very, very important to understand, because you could know how to grow a successful business, yet not do what's necessary to grow a successful business, and therefore not have the profits, the influence, the control, the feeling of running a profitable business, and in fact get the opposite. So have you ever had that situation where you took the classes they told you to take, you got the degrees and the certifications they told you to get, yet the business just isn't working? But you're going to stick in that business because what you want is to have the freedom and have the income and have the opportunity that was not only promised to you, but is typical for those who are business owners. And see, somebody might get trapped in that because they're highly skilled, yet they're not getting results. What do we do? How do we move you from knowledge to outcomes? Well, first off, we've got to be clear what the outcome is. Do you have to own the whole business to have the financial freedom that comes from being highly skilled in a particular area? Maybe not. Do you need to have the trappings that you see on TV or that you believe are part of being a heart surgeon or being a highly acclaimed business owner? Maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be. See, you might not know that heart surgeons might have to work in the middle of the night. They might be on call for 72 hours and work for a couple weeks straight before they have their leisure time. Or many of them don't have the financial rewards. They might have the trappings, but they may not have the freedom that comes with the rewards that they gain. So they're a successful heart surgeon. Now they have all these trappings they've dreamed of, but they don't ever get to use them because they're always doing heart surgery. Like you could be a heart surgeon in the United States and rewarded for your heart surgery, or you could be a heart surgeon in a communist country who gets paid the same as the janitor. Folks, we have to step back and you look at the goals and objectives you have. So we have, what do you need to know? What do you need to do? And what will you have as a result? And we need to have accuracy in these things. Because what if you want the fame and the financial means and you want the respect that a heart surgeon gets, but you can get it running a small business? Or you could get it being a pastor? Or you could get it doing something else? The sooner you figure these things out, the clearer it will be the path to take to get the results that you're looking for. We also have to ask the question, is what we believe we'll have at the end of this, is it appropriate? Is it accurate? Is it typical? Now, again, you don't want to be average. You don't want to get typical results. But if typical results are far below what your expectations are, then the gap is bigger between what everybody else is achieving and what you dream is possible in that particular area. I'm not saying it's not possible. There's $1 million taco stands. But I'm saying, are you willing to put in the level that's necessary to reach the combination? And I would argue you don't want a 9 level of learning, that a 9 level of doing, and to reach a 9 level of having. You almost want the level of having to be the highest return, and then find out what you can optimize to get in on the other elements. So too much time in a particular area, such as spending all your time learning and never applying what you're learning, that's bad. If you spend all your time applying what you know, but never refining the learning so that you get better results from what you do, that's bad. Looking at this level of desire that's far beyond your abilities or your willingness to learn, that's bad. It almost seems like the deck is stacked against you. Let me argue that it's not. because we have one more element to look at, and it is the degree to which you achieve, and using what we call, I called it in the past, the magic 1% principle of implementation, but it's almost a ratcheting of behavior so that you are achieving at some level where you're creating forward momentum and progress. Now, I like to caveat here because we're about strategic relationships. This is not something you have to do on your own. It doesn't have to be your personal struggle. In fact, there will be people around you who will volunteer information, resources. Oh, Jim, you really ought to do this. Jim, I heard you want to have your own automobile repair shop. And I know you know nothing about working on vehicles, but if you just hire a bunch of mechanics, I think you might be able to do what you're dreaming about doing. Well, is that good advice or is that bad advice? Does Jim have the skills to hire mechanics and manage them? Does he have the finances to set up the business? Nobody's going to come to you about those things. Those are the pieces you have to put together in order to know what to do. Maybe it's a part of that knowledge that starts right where you're at. And then again, if you're dreaming about having 25 chains of Jiffy Lube as a franchise owner, that's different than running your own little auto shop because you like working with cars. So again, it's the degree of activity and at what scale are we going to meet achievement. Now, one of the things that we teach here when I'm working with clients is that written plan and that evaluation of a written plan and then moving through cycles of achievement. So if you want to be a multi-billionaire, you got to earn your first dollar somewhere. You got to have a system in place in order to earn additional dollars without the upward limits of your hourly activity. Can you see what I'm getting at here? The dream often feels better than the sacrifice necessary and the obstacles you'll have to overcome. But I would argue that you can outline some plan that you can do in the next month, you can do in the next 2 months, that will get you towards the achievement you desire so that you can have an accurate representation of where you need to be in that combination. Now, I will tell you, there is no level 1 knowledge, level 1 doing, and level 9 achieving. It's almost like these combinations stress on each other. But there are opportunities where you can be, the average is better than where you are today, and it moves you towards where you want to be. Because remember, as you reach these new levels of achievement, you have a new baseline to start to that next level. So I'll go over the 5 steps really quick here. If you want to go over this whole program in detail, or you want coaching or mentoring on this particular objective of differentiating, maybe you've been learning a lot, but you haven't been achieving anything. We can look at what you need to do. Maybe you have the results that you're looking for, but you're not satisfied with it. We can look at that next level. But here are those 5 steps. First off, we want a clear demonstration, a clear destination in some kind of written plan. So if you're going to go on a trip, map it out in advance. Know where you're going to go. Now, again, this doesn't have to be all the way to the final destination. It could be a milestone. It could be a checkpoint. Number 1 is a clear destination and a written plan. And a piss poor plan is better than no plan at all. Number 2 is we want to assess your current and future state. We're really looking at the gaps. So I want to go I want to go to Washington, D.C. I am currently in Virginia. Where in Virginia? What path? What's the best objective? When do you have to be in Washington, D.C.? You can take that, a mediocre plan and a mediocre list of destination, and you can then assess it from where you are today, and then what is it going to look like when you're there in the future? What's the gaps? Number 3 is we want to cycle through the learning, the doing, and the having. So we're almost going to say, where are we on these levels 1 to 9 in our learning? And how does that impact our activity? And where are we on the levels of activity? Well, if you determine you're a level 1 activity and you need to be a level 3 activity to reach some basic level of achievement, then we can could do something about that. Now, if you're you assess yourself as a level 9 doing and you're still not getting the results, you could have the wrong knowledge. So we can assess that as well. But again, we want to cycle through those. We don't want to spend all year learning how to do something without ever doing it to know whether we want to do it or that it'll move us towards the outcomes we desire. Number 4 is we want to measure movement towards outcomes. Outcomes are critical. Are you moving towards the stated goal? If you're not, then you're wasting resources and you need to readjust. Number 5 is we're going to celebrate success to enroll support. The reason we celebrate success is because it is boring as hell to do what is necessary to get the results. That's why people get stuck in the learning. That's why people get stuck dreaming about what they want, but never actually having. So again, we're going to cycle through these activities so that we can learn a little bit, do a whole lot, and see whether or not it moved us towards the goal. And then as we're working through those cycles, what happens is we start being able to make the cognitive decisions to know whether we're on the right path, and then to start aligning resources to move down that path. I just did a program on executive function. This is the test of executive function. So folks, to wrap this up, if you're tired of putting in a lot of effort, but you're not seeing the results that you're looking for, or you started learning something and now you realize you got to learn something else in order to get to where you want to be, these are clues that the cycles of know, doing, and having are not aligned. Either you're not at the right level along this path to unlock the outcomes you desire, or some element of the approach is off. And I'll tell you, it's great to know this. It's really great to know that the path you're going down is not going to get you where you want to be, and then being able to change the path. So again, I like to use written plans. I like to evaluate those plans. I like to then come up with an approach. And then from that approach, we want to measure to see if it's making a difference. And then ultimately, we're celebrating successes because all that other stuff is hard work. And if you're not committed to do the hard work, it's okay to be an armchair heart surgeon. Just don't go out and try to do actual heart surgery, and don't expect the trappings of being a heart surgeon to show up for you. It's okay to work for somebody else, to be the best at what you do, but it's also okay to not be so good at what you do, but to be a catalyst to help others who want to do what they do. There's a leadership versus an individual contributor. If you have any questions about what I've covered today, we can go over this in a tutorial or a larger program. It's something I've been working with clients for years, where we simply assess and approach and understand those gaps so that we can get the results that they're looking for. If you have any questions, you're going to visit www.insidestrategicrelations.com. I'm Justin Hitt with InsideStrategicRelations.com, where we help you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. And that means being able to balance the level of knowledge you need to do and gain the results that you're looking for. Thanks for listening.